Friday, kicking it off on Christmas week here on the Jerry Doyle Show. JD here. Good to have you on board. We do thank you, as always, for taking some of your time to spend it with us here on the program, where intellectual anarchy, is nurtured and encouraged here, as always, on the program. Marcelo working the boards, Brad producing the program. Calls at 800-876-4123. Poll question up there for you today at the website. GOP leader Boehner rejected a bipartisan 2-month extension of the payroll tax cut passed in the Senate, saying Americans are tired of short-term fixes and gimmicks, even, now listen to this, even if it means there's a lapse in the tax cut itself. What do you say to this? 33% say he's right, let it lapse. 33% say he's right, but let it pass anyway. 10% say he's wrong, a cut is a cut. And 23% say bye-bye to the GOP. You can answer there or here at 800-876-4123. Now, when I look at being in tune, whether it's a musical instrument, in being in tune with your partner, your spouse, your family, your neighborhood, your community, your city, your state, I would have to say that right now, the Republicans, at least with regard to leadership, are definitely out of tune, out of sync with what's going on in the country. Now, I understand Boehner's call that 2 months just doesn't cut it, that we can't continue to kick the can down the road. But the only sound that seems to come from the Republicans and the Democrats is the sound of the proverbial can being kicked down the proverbial road. The road that I guess Obama wants to make longer with his shovel-ready project, so that we'll have even more road to kick the can down. But let's look at this decision by Boehner to reject this Senate bipartisan agreement to extend this payroll tax cut for 2 months. Let's talk about it politically. You're a political strategist right now, and you're going to help the Republicans to try and figure out what only is not necessarily in the best interest of the country, but keeping the best interest of the country in mind. You want to make sure that you're there to be able to do what you think needs to be done for the country, so you'd want to preserve your power. You'd want to retain your majority in the House. Maybe want to go for a majority in the Senate. Maybe even score the White House for the GOP. Boehner says, well, even though the Senate voted 89-10 for this bipartisan agreement to technically kick the can down the road with regard to what they do with regard to these long-term tax cuts, he says, it's not enough. Even though John Boehner said to Mitch McConnell, the Republican in the Senate, you go deal with whorehouse Harry Reid. You guys figure out what needs to be done so we can keep government going and make sure that people feel like they're being represented. So Mitch McConnell sits down with whorehouse Harry Reid, and the best they can come up with so that they can get home to their little festivities for the holidays is a 2-month extension. Boehner says, not so fast. Short-term extension, not good enough. He wants a year-long extension to the payroll tax holiday, unemployment insurance, Medicare reimbursement payments, even though the political standoff could mean a lapse in the popular tax cut. Now, the Republicans had a members-only conference call Saturday afternoon where the rank and file united against the Senate short-term fix. Members only. They don't still make those jackets, do they? Or have they been so out for so long that now they're making a comeback? I would like to think that I never had a members-only jacket. I know I didn't have the Eli Kuryakyn and Nehru jacket, but I might have gone gently into that members-only goodnight jacket, purchased myself, hoping I didn't. Maybe I did if there's a picture that surfaces with me in it. I can't deny it at this point. But the point is, John Boehner says people are tired of the gimmicks. He said Americans are tired of Washington's short-term fixes. They're tired of the gimmicks. He says, we oppose the Senate bill because doing a 2-month extension instead of a full-year extension causes uncertainty for job creators, which is true. The longer you can have plans in place, the longer you can have policy in place, the longer people who do long-term strategic planning for their businesses or for their families, for that matter, for their own finances, want to know kind of what it's going to be. One of the reasons that there's a lot of volatility in the stock market these days is because of uncertainty. Stock market doesn't like uncertainty, and uncertainty seems to be ruling the day. But after this members-only meeting, these rank-and-file Republicans got together and said, nope, 2 months isn't going to cut it. Now, you have to understand, this affects 160 million American workers. And chances are that some of those 160 million American workers are also American voters. The White House urged Congress to pass the 2-month extension. Even though the president, as Boehner rightfully points out, said this should be at least for a year, the Republicans are going down the path saying, well, what are we going to do about Social Security? You know, this is going to be money that we need for Social Security. This $20 billion that it's going to cost Social Security, we can't afford to do it now. So I guess the $35 trillion in unfunded liabilities wasn't the number. It was $35 trillion and $20 billion. That's the point where the Republicans have to draw the line in the sand. I can't think of how much more out of tune you can be with the electorate. Because come January 1st, if Boehner gets his way, thinking he's going to be able to get Harry Reid to fly back to Washington, D.C., and all the senators are going to come back, because I'm sure they got nothing else going on in their lives. There's no fundraisers in the district. There's no more photo ops with people who've had their restaurant open for 5 years, so the senator can put their picture on the wall of the restaurant, so as people come in, they go, ooh, he cares about us. I think I'll vote for him. I'm sure they're just sitting around waiting for the Batman signal in the sky so that they can fly back to Washington, D.C. and respond to John Boehner's request that they reconvene to negotiate this one-year extension. And if that doesn't happen and they don't agree to it, Boehner says, let it lapse. And what happens January 1st? The tax cut goes away. And if the tax cut goes away, what happens? Taxes go up. And in that 2-month period, a person making $50,000 a year is going to see his taxes go up about $175. Now, when does that tax increase take place? Right after what? Christmas and New Year's. And when do people tend to spend a lot of money? Christmas and New Year's. And when do those Visa and American Express and MasterCard bills start coming in? Right after the first of the year. And when people get back and maybe they overspend a little bit on their vacations and they start to take a look at how much they spent relative to how much they have, they're going to say, man, if I only had an extra $150, I did. I did have an extra $150. But what happened? The in-tune Republicans are so out of tune with their electorate, with their own party, and where the country's going, that they're willing to make some stand over 2 months versus a year when people are going to see their taxes go up January 1st. Now, the very same John Boehner, who wants to stand on principle, who wants to say we can get things done, that if I just get Whorehouse Harry back, if I just keep the House in session, we're going to be able to bring all these people together, and we're going to convince them that 2 months isn't enough. 1 year it must be, because that's what we do. We get results. Really? Let's take a look at those results. Let's listen to David Gregory on Meet the Press talking with the very same John Boehner about just how we feel about Congress. And listen to John Boehner's response. It'll tell you everything you need to know about the status quo.
We talk about dysfunction in Washington, and here are the numbers to bear this out. Job approval for Congress at an all-time low of 9%, 83% disapproval. Honesty and ethical standards of people in different fields is something that Gallup measured. Look at that. Nurses fare pretty well. There's journalists at 26%, members of Congress at 7%. When you fall below journalists, I think you're in a lot of trouble. But all kidding aside, are you not disappointed and embarrassed by those numbers?
Well, David, welcome to divided government.
That's it. Welcome to divided government. So, based on those numbers, John Boehner's response is just the way it is, David. We have divided government. And it's not that we're deserving of the all-time low job approval number of 9% and the 83% disapproval. It's not because of our lack of honesty and ethical standards or our abilities to get things done. No. The only reason people feel so badly about us, the only reason we have such a low ranking and are so lacking respect by the American people is because of divided government. And that very same divided government is going to send Santa out with his sleigh and kick all the toys out and put all the congressmen and women in there and zoom them back to Washington, D.C., and somehow that very same divided government is going to be able to come to some agreement in the short run before January 1st that, I get it now, it should be a year and not 2 months. Now, when you take a look at how people feel this is affecting them, there was an interesting exchange this morning on Fox and Friends with Steve Doocy and Democrat pollster Pat Caddell. And in the first clip here, Steve Doocy says, this is where we've gotten to because of your callousness and your answers like, well, welcome to divided government. This is how people think about the system we operate in.
Take a look at this. 86% believe that the system is rigged. And that, that kind of taps into the whole Occupy Wall Street thing where people go, well, I can kind of understand the feeling, but I certainly wouldn't do it that way.
Wait a minute. Is that Steve Doocy of Fox and Friends that says something almost kind of positive about the Occupy Wall Street movement? I mean, they're not just pot-smoking hippies. They're not just bongo-beating nut jobs. They're not just urinating in jars and having sex in tents while they pass around sexually transmitted diseases and leave garbage strewn behind. Now they're coming around to saying, well, I understand it. I wouldn't have gone about doing things the way you did, but I guess I can understand because 86% of the people think that the system is rigged. And Pat Caddell in the next clip says, and who benefits from this rigged system?
Well, this is one of the toughest questions I've ever written because it says not only is the system rigged and the Treasury is being looted by Wall Street, banks, special interest unions, the whole bit, but that it's being done to the direct harm of every man, woman, and child in America.
That was the Democrat that was dissing the unions. And in the clip before, it was the Republican agreeing with Occupy Wall Street. And John Boehner responding to the fact that the approval ratings for Congress are so low, his response is, well, David, welcome to divided government.
The Jerry Doyle Show.
And yet, the government continues. The same players get to step up to the plate time after time. The same teams are still on the field. And we expect that that field of screams is going to turn into the field of dreams if we turn them back for one more chance to get it right. 800-876-4123. Tim Carney at the bottom of the hour, senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner, author of Obamonomics. Stick with me.
Welcome to divided government.
Jerry Doyle.